Right, so we're now going to work on this window. I'm not working on any silly shaped windows or square windows. We're just talking about the average narrow windows we come up against and the wider windows that we come up against. So on this window, it's quite a large window, so we can use a 14-inch squeegee on this. But my advice for people who do pole work and are not very good, or they're just beginning, use a smaller squeegee, and you've got the more manoeuvrability to get, if you make a mistake or you find it hard to fan the glass, you can adjust and fix your mistakes. But if you follow my way of working, you won't be dancing all over the glass willy-nilly. So we're working on low level windows. I've adapted the squeegee and the angle arm to suit the angles we're working at, but really this should be a window up high like this. So I'm going to show you my way of working on a window like this. These are the easiest windows to work on, but I look for the best technical ways of working. So what I do is I cut in at the top, I come down flush, square at the sides, again do the same on this side, and what I do is I take these corners out at the bottom, and then when I come to close out, I come and close out away from the frame, so I've got less chance of making a mess and friction against the side of the frame. Not all frames are the same. Obviously we've got rubber seals, we've got different types of rubber seals, we've got flat laying seals as well. It's best to always keep away from the frames when you're closing out, because closing out is the hardest way of working. So, or closing out, it's the worst way of closing out against a frame. So let's do it again. We come down, we take that corner out, then we come back up, we take the top edge and the bottom again, and then we just fan. This is the easy part until it comes to the close out, and then we close out away from the frame. Job done. Very easy, simple. I'm not really, because I've got the manoeuvrability, the window's big, I can easily close out and not make any mistakes. Just taking out each layer at a time, and then it just comes to finish and closing out. So there's a variation of that move which I don't do, but other people do it, and it's exactly the same process of cutting in and then coming down square, but they close out, and then they do it again on this side, and then they close out, and then they fan the middle, which is the easy part, and then they again close out. What you've done there is you've closed out 3 times. It's a slower way of working, but it's still a good way of cutting the top edge and coming down flush. These squeegee channels are very good at coming down square and getting zero detailing, whereas well, you can do the same with a standard channel as well, but it's never going to be as accurate, as precise. And doing the taking out the corners here like this and like this, because the channel is not shaped to go into corners like this, then what you're going to get is a big triangular piece of glass on the glass here of residue. So that's why a lot of people close out to the sides here when they're using standard channels. They come down flush to decrease as much residue as possible. But if you're using a channel like this, you don't really need to come out flush. You just need to take them corners out there and then close out once. Right, so that's one way variation of doing it, and then there's the standard way of working. Notice I don't do any straight pulls, because straight pulls is not in my vocabulary when it comes to cleaning windows. What the standard way is, it's just doing this. So this will mean that I'm going to close out once, but it's longer, and I'm hitting the edges many times. I'm not coming down flush at the edges, and if this was a hard window to work on, like flat laying seal, then I've got loads of chance of skipping up over the actual rubber seal, leaving a wet patch, and you've defeated your purpose of using a tool like this. So that way is longer, but you only close out once. But the best way of doing a window like this, it's the quickest way, it's the most convenient way, is just doing it like this. And the reason why I take out both sides is because I don't really know what side I'm going to close out on. I could close out on either side, so it's just good to close out both sides. I could close out this side, or I could close out this side, it all depends. So sometimes the actual frame is a bit sticky if it's a rubber seal, and there's a bit of friction, and you're planning to land your squeegee, and then your rubber skips up and you make some residue, so you have to come back over, fix it, and then come back over again, and you end up closing out the other side. So that's why I always take out both corners, because you don't know, I don't know which side I'm actually going to land my liquidator jet plane. So that is the way I work on this window, and how I work on this window, it's actually quite the opposite of how I work on each window. So this window, it's a continuous, most of the time it's a continuous fanning movement, whereas this is, you take out the corners and the edges, and then you fan the middle. So why don't I do that on this window? Well, the reason is, if I take out one side first, and then I take out this side first, all I've got is a little bit of residue left to fan on. And if it's a hot day and I haven't got my solution primed, like I always add the soap to the glass or the washer and rub it in, then you're struggling, you're making life harder for yourself. So that's why I don't work on this window like this, unless I'm at a very stupid angle and I take out one side first, and then I can just pivot as best I can without making any mistakes or marks. Sometimes it takes longer than you'd want it to, but what's more important, working on 100% or making mistakes, or just doing it the easy way? But the easy way everybody can do. So how I work is that I work at a high level. I want even the customer to notice that the customers are normally very naive, don't know what's going on, but if the customer notices that I'm actually performing like an athlete over the glass instead of a regular window cleaner, people notice things, people notice quality, and that's how I work. I work with quality. I don't work with my cloth. I don't use the cloth to fix mistakes. I use my technique and my ways of working to fix mistakes. And I always would advise anybody who's not using liquidators and are thinking of using them, either beginner level or middle range guys, the top guys, of course they're going to be using these tools and probably solely these tools. Don't start with a big squeegee. You start with a small squeegee. You learn how to use it, because it's a completely different fish to use compared to what you're used to using. If you make a mistake like I have now, you've got the ability to come back over and fix any mistake. But the bigger the squeegee, you're just restricted. You want to try and eliminate as much restriction as possible until you get onto the high level of window cleaning. So when you start off, I always advise, don't waste your time with all the other squeegee channels. Don't worry so much about handles at the moment. All the beginner guys who are looking into window cleaning traditionally, just go for the best, because you guys can overtake the veterans and the seasoned window cleaners within a couple of weeks, just teaching yourself by following the ways I work, and you get to a very high level extremely quickly. Don't waste your time using any other tool, because using any other tool channel will make you work harder and longer for the same result, and the result is 100%, right? That's what we're aiming for. So the guys who are using all different types of tools, the lower level guys, the intermediate guys and the higher intermediate guys, and they're using all different types of tools to suit their purpose, they're kind of like fighting, because they're fighting with their tools, because they some people think they're like better than they are, and their standard is not to the standard that I would be working at, and if they're using standard tools, they're only going to get low standard results. So they're fighting. If they're not putting their soap on the glass, rubbing it in, that is the best way of getting the highest performance out of your tool. Doesn't matter what tool you're using. They're stuck in their ways. They've got this mindset where they think they know better. They've got the experience. I've got the experience. My experience is completely 180 degrees different to these guys, most of these guys. So experience, depending on what you experienced in, if you're experiencing fighting against with your tool and struggling and not even knowing you're struggling, whereas you can be working at a very high level, just flying through your work and doing really extremely hard, difficult things, where these guys would not even imagine to do. That's why I always advise the guys starting off, bypass all this, get to this level ASAP. And you're only going to get to that level by using liquidators, and then the more advanced you become, you start looking into working with angles, and that's what this handle does. And the more complex work you do, the more you'll need to add your squeegee angles into looking at getting 100% results 100% of the time. So you know, some people think a wagtail handle is more advanced than this. If I give this to an intermediate guy, this is as good as a wagtail. Whereas you give a wagtail to me and you give that to me, you know, I can do so much more with this because I'm working at such a high level than I would with a wagtail. And people think this is a wagtail alternative. This is not a wagtail alternative. This is a completely different tool. It just does one thing that a wagtail does, and a wagtail just does this. So this does many other things what a wagtail can't do, and it does things at a much higher level. So don't ever think this is a wagtail alternative. This is an upgrade from wagtail. This is not me being disrespectful. This is an upgrade to any handle and any channel. And that's why I only use these tools, because I work at a completely different level to these the majority of window cleaners. And there are more and more window cleaners working at this level because I've highlighted the benefit of working at that level, and I've also encouraged people to forget about the rat race. The guys starting off several months ago, they bypassed these guys, and they're working at this level already after 6-7 months. They've used different tools, but then when I said to them, don't waste your time with any other tool, just try with this tool, try my ways of working, and you'll just fly. And they're flying. They can do more than these guys in several weeks. So I'm very surprised when I see some window cleaning videos on YouTube, and they're nobodies. There's people you never heard of before, and they're using a pole and these tools to the highest quality degree. It makes most YouTube videos, guys who make videos, look a bit substandard, because they're working at such a high level, and nobody knows who they are. They just make 1 or 2 videos, but they're working at such a high level. And the nice thing is, all these guys working at this level, they all say, oh, it's thanks to you, me advising and showing there's a better way of working. And there is only a better way of working if you change your soap solution, your working setup, and using the highest quality window cleaning tools. You'll never ever get there otherwise. You have to change and adapt your way, and these hungry guys who have very keen to learn, and have only been doing it for a few months or a year or so, they're so hungry to become better and learn, whereas the guys in this range, they think their experience is enough, and they can't get out of that mindset. They think they're great, but they are good. A lot of them are good, but you know, I can tell a lot about someone using a certain tool or using certain types of tools. I can, you know, it's just, you start reading a book that you've read 100 times. You know the words inside out, the book inside out. The top elite window cleaner guys, the highest level guys, are only using these tools. It's simple as that. It's, you know, you might not like the sound of what I'm saying. I'm not being arrogant, cocky or anything. I'm just saying the truth. And if you want to improve your window cleaning style of work and earn more money per hour, then this is the best route and the only route to take.